Tene tatari tanda chundindala tanda tutu chenpo Thangtong Gyalpo shaja chenpo kauma tan jono jetin Taranatha ke sumbe tige ta mengo tenso sarwaran sepa ta tini hyupe na ne ta kasing ke kapso 다 가리 휴바리세나 다 당보 제르도 눈으로 롱밥 넘섬 되는 거에 다 대지에서 본담바라 다 가신 그 값을라 먹을라 되는 본담바도 hin지라 되는 본담바 되네 다 단다 대현도 되네 탑 제버지나 되는 본담바 된수 가신 게 값을라 휴바리 드니티 단다 서저치 뭐 가우면 나네야 다 디송아리라 드니티 견도 조노제진 따라나다게 숨도 맹어게 테이나야 대다르도 송아리라 다 드링게 가서를 해야 돼 가리리세나 케이크 살와리라 케이크 살와티 단다 서저치 뭐 가우마 tene Thangtong Gyalpo sumbe nangla te tsam salvo song yo mare te yena yang chono jesin Taranatha ka gomba tarta siya na ta kek salwa te po ndamba ta kek salwa ni song yo warela tene te yang pe kal chenpo ta ngaran su ka gom jab ke yo warela gom japa te ya tene kompel to yon ro gu ke yo ware chechi 다 님바 데라 가래 요아레세나 깝깝라 바르치 nda보다 케이크 nda보 데네 용 미시바 마레 데 용스기 요아레 데 용 깝슬라 데 케이크 티기 온도 쇼르나 데네 데섬 다제 람 만도 원다보 지레라 디 케이크 데 인지 민지 살구기 요아레 데네 티처나 단다 케이크셀 본단다 케이크셀 생기 데니 pe kalchembo rela ta dinane kasin pondamba tene mugu depato mugu la tene pondamba ta tene te yendo tanda ta zo niji chembo la tene pondamba ta tenzu hyuba rela ta terenge kasala ta nipa cake salwa rela cake salwa tela ya tene namba ninda boji songyo re la Number ni de kandere sena ta tanda chitang kapnder to buti jurna gadi.
So in our Dharma sessions, we have been discussing Thangtong Gyalpo's Amulet Mahamudra, as well as Taranatha's explanation of these instructions. And so in these two, what is it that we have gone through? Well, we have gone through the preliminaries of the threefold natural settling, and then we have been through the actual practice, and then we came to the enhancement of that practice. And so in the enhancement of that practice, the primary ways of enhancing the practice are enhancing the practice through devotion and enhancing the practice through great compassion. And then also, Taranatha explains enhancing the practice through superior methods. Now, the enhancing, so the first two of these are explained, or these are all explained in both the Amulet Mahamudra as well as in the Taranathas. They're mentioned within the Amulet Mahamudra as well as within Taranatha's instructions. So now that we have explained all of that, what have we come to today? Today we have come to the dispelling obstacles. Now in the Amulet Mahamudra, this is not particularly clear. However, in Taranatha's explanation, it is clearly explained. There is this section on dispelling obstacles. So we have two parts here. We have the enhancement of the practice, and we have dispelling obstacles. And these two are extremely important. Now, we always do meditation. We do this meditation, but it's not enough to just do it. We need to improve it. We need to develop our meditation. And so for that reason, we need to enhance the meditation. But when we are enhancing it, it's not impossible that problems and difficulties and obstacles might arise. It is quite possible that they will arise. And since it is possible that they arise, we need to learn how not to be overcome by these obstacles and difficulties that we have. If we are overcome by them, then we will not really make progress down the path. So we need to know how to dispel the obstacles. And so that is why there is this section on dispelling obstacles. So these two sections on enhancing our practice and on dispelling obstacles are very important. So yesterday we discussed enhancing our practice, both through the devotion as well as through limitless compassion. And so today we come to the second. The second of these is dispelling obstacles. And this dispelling obstacles also has two sections.
Tene tatela tangbo te kapnder sona zalo lunu so keksel jende chudu so thamlamji yala imbe thmo war sonte ndar menchi sonarela tatela keitela tene chungupu gtane zadang longa kek ndabo ya kapkala yungi warela Tene te yendo nang senji tingen zendla tati desarma tope nyam la tene kek ndabo che yungi yore la di nang ne che za longa parchi te tang kek te kana tene yungi yore se na tene tati shaja chimbo changpa gamba la yungi yo mare la wana kana yungi yore se na tene naro chudu tong nego chudu la sopa tumotan, julutan, malamla sopege tapte gamna, tini tige tsadan kapkala gamte te si yapo majung na tsadan longa, tini tatanda kek naboche yungi yuare la, ti kek sel te tini tengu yuare. Yuare te yinaya tablamji yana imbe si ne, tene kasin ta kapkabla tablam te te shashin kawme nang song yorela te neka tene wanlong treson menga tong jeba top go gre te tanda hyoya mare sine maji bare te ngaran so nyamlen ta tene nyamlen na mato pa ta buchi rela tene tanda kap nderson na yo te tablam ji yana imbe tomo war sonte nder menchi ta te chudu gi yana rela Nite inji minji zalo nunu gen nupa te kek te njunju ge nyenka te yo mare la. Tene taka ndar tumo mayimpa kek salwa ta te tingen zenje kek te ta shaja chenpo changpa gamba ka so la tingen zenje kek te yungi yo are la. Tingen zenje kek te salwa ge tap te kap ndar tenpare mato. Tene zalung ge kek te 다 shaja chimbo changpa gana zalung ka ki te onju ki nyanka yuwa mare la teacher na kamdar song yuwa mare.
So here, in terms of dispelling obstacles, it says, dispelling obstacles through reversing the channels and winds is an aspect of the path of means of the 6 yogas. So it is common, and I will not explain it here. So when we have obstacles in our practice, these obstacles can happen because of external elements such as the earth and wind and so forth. And they can also be obstacles because of our internal samadhi meditation in our mind. And in terms of our mind, these would be the obstacles of the experience of bliss, clarity, and non-thought. So of these two different types of obstacles, what are these external obstacles that come up from earth and wind? Well, what are they? Well, these are obstacles that do not particularly come up in the meditation on Mahamudra. Where do they happen? They happen when we are meditating upon the 6 yogas, whether it is the 6 yogas of Naropa or the 6 yogas of Niguma. These are difficulties and obstacles in the channels and winds that can happen when we are doing the tumo or fierceness meditation, the illusory body or dream yoga, and so forth. And so if when we are doing these practices, our winds and channels don't work right, then we will have difficulties. And when we have those difficulties, then we need to use the methods to dispel the obstacles. However, these are included in the path of means. So as I mentioned before, in the Amulet Mahamudra, there are a few passages about the path of means, but these are something for which one needs to have empowerments, reading transmissions, and instructions. So as I said, I'm not going to instruct them. I'm not going to explain them here. So these are the sort of thing that are not really included within our practice here. These are an aspect of the 6 yogas. And when you're practicing the 6 yogas, there's the chance that they might happen. But when we are doing Mahamudra, there is no danger that they will happen for us during yoga. So there are the particular obstacles for Mahamudra. When we're meditating on Mahamudra, the obstacles that we need to dispel are the obstacles to our samadhi meditation. And so for those, we need the particular methods to dispel those obstacles. But here, here there is not really any danger when we are doing Mahamudra meditation of there being obstacles because of the paths and winds. And so for that reason, these methods are not taught.
Tene tatanda tumoma imbe keisarwa tela tati tumoma imbe keite chitang kei chemboribe pe norsa chemboribe sina norsa chembo mare te hinaya keite chona te si tingen sente compare tondo ala parchi shege yorela tene tige keite la hachang jiggu pato tog pata Tinipe tell Norsa Chimbo dog resin and dog mare. Mare de Inaya gum de compared to all dates in Cheng dog you are la. Tin Chinzi cake de Kasi you are in a cake eating. Tella Kandersona Nyamje Tsi Matching Ba Non Ton Shure Mashorwa Tatiniti no Nyamji Tsi China the cake. Tige tige matching baji gogre techi non don chore chorna geire de mashor waje gogre some cakes are what the number ni then nyam ji ti matching ba non don chore mashor wa ni la bepa te se ta tangbo ngaran so cake de kande you are se na cake number ni you are de nane tangbo nyam ji ti matching ba singe de kande se na Deyang, tene nyam sinking tel kari yung yoresena, dewe nyam, salve nyam, matope nyam som yung yorela. Tene tate ngaran su tingen sen gom, depe kapla, senla dewa, kapla, tene pe salvu ki nyam, kapla number matopa, nam to tong chalve ki nyam, dabo, tende ki nyam som. Yungi yore. Ti nyam de dupo revesina dupo mare. De tingen sen kon na ranking ti dewe ki nyam yungi yore, salve ki nyam yungi yore, matope nyam yungi yore. Ta tela nyam je tsi matching ba se du kare gugi yore se na. Dewa tela te si hena tene ti nyam je tsi cheng sore. Nyam te dewa tela hena o na devo yungu do de gugu do samna Tinite Kurang Uni Choja Chimbuge, Tini Topa Marilla, Tineka Nyam, Tini Tatanda Tanda Tutu Chimbo Tangji Gisona, Nyam Navington Dati, Long Mupata, trained the Boje, Takura Kapkala, Yungi Yorella, Tinite Yalni Rose, Kapkala, Young Kapkala, Yal Drogiore. Topa namkatanda tinjurwa mese, topa tin namkatanda ware, njurwa yo mare la. Tini teacher na, tini ngaranso gom jamki mangbo la, kapka la dewi nyam yungi ware. Dewi nyam yungi te la kari gogre sin, ti dupo rive sin na dupo mare taiki kibare. Tene dupo mare te yina ya tela cha hen hen na nga tende devo chipo chi chong song ta yang char to tende go gen do som na tene kap ka la gom chen kha he la ti dewa te dewe ki nyam te yong ma to pa che tene te ayong ta tene tela te ne te si gom tela nyam chi chi chai ne tene cheng ro yo la tene te dewe nyam song na 야보레 데 있나야 데라 인지 민지 차힌 고야 요마레 코라 정나야 대위냠데 정나야 야보레라 대위냠데 마중나야 드가라 야보레 라 디천나 대위냠지 찌마진 바제다 데니야 깝깝라 살와시나 나 띵엔센데 베 살보 다 야보 용군도 삼반다보 용그래라 디 살보 정나야 안다 마중나야 안다 tene te salve nyong la mahiba tene te yapu chona ya tingon do gam salva majuna ya tingon do gam tene mutup nyom ya te tar do la tene te tar do ta nyom som yu ya te la nyom som la hena kolwe tene te la mahiba ji ji mi ji gogre.
So we have the particular obstacles, or the particular, we could also say blockages might be better here. The particular blockages or obstacles in our practice. And so what are these obstacles? Well, in general, are these really big problems? Are these a really huge danger in our practice? Well, actually, in general, they're not really a mistake. They're not really a problem, but they do make a little bit of an obstacle for us to develop our samadhi. So when these obstacles happen, when these blockages happen, is this something that we need to be frightened and terrified of? It's not. Is it really a big mistake? It's not really a big mistake, but it sort of binds us and blocks us from really developing our meditation. So in this way, there are these two things that sort of bind us and hold us back. Here, the particular dispelling of obstacles, not being bound by the elixir of experiences and not to become partial towards either appearances or emptiness. And so here there are these two different types of obstacle that we can have. One of them is being bound by the elixir of experiences. So being bound by the elixir of experience is the first type of obstacle. And the second and so when that happens, then it is important that we not be, and the other is to become partial towards either appearance or emptiness. So when we become partial towards either one, to either appearance or emptiness, that is also an obstacle. So we need to make sure that we are not overcome by either of these, neither being bound by the elixir of appearances nor becoming partial towards either appearance or emptiness. So these are the two types of obstacles that we can have, the two types of blockages that we can have. So the first of these is being bound by the elixir of experiences. And so what is this? The experiences are the three different experiences of bliss, clarity, and non-thought. These are three things that can happen when we are sitting in meditation. When we are in samadhi meditation, sometimes we will feel bliss. Sometimes we will feel clarity. Sometimes we will have an experience of non-thought when we feel like we are free of any thought. So there are these three different experiences that can happen during our meditation. So are these bad and terrible? They are not. There's something that naturally happens. When we're meditating, we naturally occasionally feel bliss. We naturally occasionally feel clarity. We naturally occasionally feel non-thought. This happens, but we must not be bound by them. Being bound by them here, that means if we feel real attachment and clinging to them, then they bind us. For example, when we are meditating, sometimes we will have the experience of bliss. And so this experience of bliss is actually not the realization of Mahamudra. It is just an experience. So for this reason, many great Mahasiddhas said that these experiences are like clouds. Experiences are like clouds, and clouds sometimes happen and then they dissipate, they go away. And so sometimes they're there and sometimes they're not. Similarly, these experiences sometimes happen and then they dissipate, they go away. The great meditators say that the realization is like the sky. The sky, the space itself is unchanging. Here the experience of bliss will happen. And when it happens, what is it? What is it like? Is this something that's terrible? It's not terrible, but we must not cling to it or be attached to it, because if we think, that's wonderful, that's lovely, I've got to feel that again. I want that again. And then we're waiting for it to happen again, and it doesn't happen. And when it doesn't happen again, we can't make it again, then we're waiting for it to come, and it doesn't come. And then this is a problem with our meditation. This is us being bound by the elixir of experiences. And so, of course, the experience of bliss is great. But there's no need to be attached to it. There's no need to cling to it. So if it happens, that's fine. If it doesn't happen, that is also perfectly fine. That is, we just should not be attached to it. It's the same with the experience of clarity in our meditation. Sometimes we're sitting there, we're in deep samadhi, and it's so clear, crystal clear, and we're thinking, this is wonderful. And when we're thinking, this is wonderful, well, it's fine, but if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, that's also great. Just don't cling to it, but don't be attached to it. So it doesn't really matter if there's clarity or not. We just rest within whatever there is. And it's also exactly the same with non-thought. So these are the three different types of experience: the bliss, clarity, and non-thought. And if these happens, then we should not cling to them. And so this is what it means by not being bound by the elixir of experiences.
Tene tateya kamderte si jeparsone tene devi nyamla kari yungre se na ludon san la gade chichi ton ta kapka la lula devi nyam kapka la san la gawe nyam chi pate tene devi nyam jong te se pata tene ripa la tangcha ta sarcha chisung ton se tene rang san la tene pe kom tangpa tene kapka la salvo Jessuate, Salvignam Sikite, that in the Jungi or Tangbot and Salvo. Tam Matopenyam Kandi Jungi or is in Ton Sonsombu, Matopenyam, sitting Ton Songi, non to Hidra Mapa, Matopenyam, Te, Tatela, Dewa, Salwa, Matopenyam, Chiharla, Takandi Chiharsona, Kaukala Devinyam Chinayanda, Kaukala Salvinyam Chinayanda, Kaukala Ton, Matopenyam Chinayanda, Chiharla, Gajim Eber Chong, Tatinga Yapu Chong, Te Yancher to Gugando, some big Henchom Eber Churs, Koyapu Chong, Tagasipa Chur, Dupo, Te Majuna, Tagasipa Chur. That in the say, Net, in Yamji, Simajin, but the Google.
So if we cling to this bliss thought, bliss clarity, and non-thought, this is a pitfall. This is something. So we should not cling to them. Well, then, if we explain them in a little bit more detail, the text then explains them in a little bit more detail. So whatever happiness or bliss might arise for the body and mind. So when we feel happiness and joy in the body or mind, this is the experience of bliss. Whatever purity and clarity arise for the mind. So when we feel like everything is really pure, crystal clear in our mind, that is the experience of clarity. This is something that sometimes happens. So it's this really pure, clear feeling in our mind. And whatever thought-free experience of utter emptiness occurs. So sometimes we feel like everything is just completely empty, nothing, no thoughts at all, nothing really happening in the mind. And so that is the experience of being thought-free. So these are the three experiences of bliss, clarity, and non-thought. And so whatever of these happens, so whichever occurs, whatever bliss occurs, whatever clarity occurs, or whatever non-thought occurs, then we should we should let go of any happiness or attachment. So if we have an experience of something and we're sitting, we have this thought of non-thought, and it's like, this is great. I need this to happen again. We should just let go of any happiness about that or any attachment to it. And if it does not happen, then we should also let go of that.
Tene yang kap la nyam tenso khandi yung yore se na nyam hyuk chembo yung yore nyam thok thaba tene pe dewi nyam hyuk chembo tombe nyam mto pe nyam hyuk chembo salwe nyam hyuk chembo chone hik mto pandawa thati pha churna yu mto pandawa pe kadu na yung ke nupa chembo top chembo tendawa chong na ta yan de nyam re somne tene magamba te se ngalsone di on to ma chorwachine magambar no tento kongar jola jo se tene gamde te se neka yane nyomje samnang tenzo te si pa yal to chune tene ngaranso no ka harna ya kora takara kongar jola jo tate nyomla nyom sapo ta nyom tupo ni yungi warela nyom sapo chung kapsala tene chahi me par churnyo tene nyom tupo chung kapsala tene tanda gom chom yane ti si ya ti on to ma kro che ta te tardo chung kapsala nyom te tapa ngon namba te kandi yungi warese na desal tombar hikbana dewi nyom tong salvi nyom te tene ranghin ji ngo ranghin ke matupa tigi ngo te tomba imba hei songa tigi nepa kanya mepa tende chona nelu jembar char nelu jenji char tene salvo nyom topa yapo chegre tene nyom ji tsi ma jingba senge te ta tende che gogi yore songa.
Sometimes we have experiences that are really heavy. So when you have, these are experiences that are really strong, that are very heavy, that we can't break through. So if experiences are too heavy and it is as if you cannot break through them. So sometimes we have an experience of bliss that is really strong, or an experience of non-thought that is very strong, or an experience of clarity that is very strong. And it's as if we cannot put it aside. We cannot toss it off. We cannot break through it. So when we have this experience happening, and whenever we're meditating, we have this experience, it always is really strong and a powerful experience, then at that point, if we cannot do that, we should not meditate. We should get up and take a rest. We should not let ourselves be overcome by this. We need to just put it aside. Now, sometimes when we have these experiences, there are these clear experiences, but there are also sometimes very heavy experiences. So there are the clear experiences of the clear appearances that arise to us, and then there are also the really bad and heavy experiences that happen. These two, and so if there are the clear appearances that happen, then and we should just not cling to them or be attached to them. But if there is some really heavy experience that we cannot cast off, then we should take a break and not let ourselves be overcome by it in any ways. And so this is what happens when with these experiences. And so when we have these experiences and we can suppress them, or we can let them settle down a bit, then at that point, if bliss, clarity, and non-thought disintegrates, so when we are meditating and we look at the essence of these experiences and we see that it cannot be established as anything, we see that their essence is empty and they sort of disintegrate, then they can't harm us in any way. There's no problem with them at that way. And at that point, the nature will shine nakedly. So the way things are will shine nakedly. It's as if the experience, the clarity will just disappear at that point. And so this is essentially what it means when we say not being bound by the elixir of experiences.
Tene ta tela tanda nyamji tsi ma jin pa se kete tsi ma jin pa khande si gogre se na ta tende si ne nyamji tsi ma jin pa gogre ta ke ni pa te non ton tsore ma hyo non ton tsore hyo na ke de te non ton tsore ma hyo wa gogre la tene ta te ya non tsore hyo wa ton tsore hyo wa ni non ton tsore hyo de te la nang hyo la hyo na khande yung gre ton hyo la hyo na khande yung gre se na tene tangbo nang hyo la hyo wa te semje nangcha tang sarcha chargola denhin che tene nangcha chig nawala ngune chohin che denhin dembare sombe denhin che chohin che tene sem ke sarcha tang chargola denhin che tene dati denhin che na tene tanda chodong zinhin rot som tene te nyemomba cher som no yin desha cher som hedang cher som henba cher som ror som nyamse na ta tige nongchala cha nongchula chor na tene ta ti kende ta tene khande yung yore se na tende ji yung yore la ta ti salwe ge thapla khande chi gugre sin juma tabur muhen salwe mini palan jo tene chu thomji noa juma tabur re salwa yung juma tabur re chodong gen zingi jo juma tabur re juma to mulam tabur dan to kanya truba yo mare somne muhen salwe tene te ngopo dembar truba chi kaba du ta ni salna tene nye jume pa ta chitang le tongpo pa la yung te tabu ji re la te tabu mini pa ngon la nyambar kyo na non chua la sore kyo ro ki jen ti sal ge re ti te tombar char ta tene si gom du ka la kap ka la tombar char ge re ta te tomba la sore kyo ro ki jen yung yo re tomba la sore kyo na jen che zam yung yo re jen chenpo khande yung yo re se na rang sen je ngo la che par mendo rang sen te ngo rang yin ki tomba re tela gewa se na yung phemba mendo devon da wo hira mendo diba me gewa se na yung ni ba da wo yung da mendo chi mendo be lendre pong mugu so nyam lokta chi na tene le junde la tene diba me gewa panggoya mendo gewa nyam so long goya mendo samba tende tene tomba la chore shona ti chen che chom yung yor tene te khande re se na te lokta re lokta chi na tomba chore shoro re te la tene zap gu re so.
So, how should we not be bound by the elixirs of experiences? This is exactly how we should not be bound by that. So, following this comes the experience, comes the discussion of how not to fall to the, not to become partial towards either appearance or emptiness. So we must not become partial to them, we must not be overcome by them. So we can either become partial to appearances or we can become partial to emptiness. And so, of these two, what does this mean to become partial to appearances? What does it mean to become partial to emptiness? The first, becoming partial to appearances, is if you start to cling to the appearing aspect, clear aspect, and perceptions of mind as true, and the experience of coarse greed, aversion, fixation, and clinging develops, imagine it as being like an illusion. So sometimes we have these appearances, and when we have the appearances, we cling to them, we fixate on them. And when we cling to them, there is the clarity of that appearance, and we think that it is true. We cling to it as being true. when we cling to it as being true, then the afflictions will increase. There will be more and more greed and lust within our minds. There will be more and more aversion in our minds, more and more attachment and clinging and fixation within our minds. These will become coarse, evident, and so in this way, we need to make sure that we do not become overly partial towards the appearances. We must not lose control of ourselves to the appearances. This is the condition that happens, and when we encounter this sort of condition of this happening, then what we need to do is we need to visualize it. We need to think of it as being like an illusion. Imagine it as being like an illusion. When you look, you cannot find it, and rest in that. So you look at it and you imagine it as being an illusion. And when you look at these things that you are clinging to as being true, well, where do you find them? You cannot find them anywhere. And so we beginners cling to them as being true, but we need to examine them. And so we need to look at them in this way. And then when we look at them in this way, this will make them occur as empty. That will make it occur as empty. Now, when they occur as empty, then actually this is a more serious problem. This is a bigger problem.
Tene ta tela kare gugre se na ta tela ngarang lende la ichi che gugre la lende le rang le so pa ta te yin debu nyoa tela demba mepa demba tuba yo re besine demba tuba yo mare ngo tomba yin na ya te kunzub ge on se na ti jo le so na debu te tene loayo marela tenten devate rangtana gewasana geun devate rangtana yungre dechi kinabala yungi yore le ngemba megewasana tig devate dunghal kinabata tene parchi kinabala yungi yore tela loayo mare la teacher na le jundila ichi nguni tane shejute kalchempore mato te tomba resone yo na ta te nyenka chembo dar go chero teacher na yenchi minchi te le jundila ichi chi go baje le jundila ichi chi be te kam dar sonare la ki pe te khandi sonare se na chitang chuni go on de se na me te dembar tro mare me te ngo tomba re 메디 모 똥바레 디나 셴코랑 은이 세이도그레 마도 다티 메디 똥바레 셴이랑 힝기 네그레 비스나 네그 마레 대견도 베가디 초데 덴버트바르 비스나 초데 덴버트바 마레데 이나야 히르와 મં가바데 렘바티 자니 메반로야 요 마레라 디처나 레전드라 이치치고 데네티 똥추라 똥바추르 효나 데네 레전드라 로타지와티 be tati cake de salwala legend la ichi pade culture la legend la ichi gore te pe te me da chola yo ne teni te tomba yin na ya tongshu la chor nyang ge yo mare nongshu la chor na nongshu la chor nyang ge yo mare toni ge zi ge semba che go ge yo re te tar nyam sulang ta tinde sine nyam sulang gore tene tige tanda cake salwe kapsula nyamji tsi ma jimba to non ton sure ma kyo go ne tene te chante salgo gi yore cake salgo gi yore.
So it is a bigger problem that everything is emptiness. So when we look at the nature of the mind and we see everything is emptiness, then we might think, well, there's no difference. It's no problem. Virtue is not going to help the nature of the mind. It's not going to produce any result. And if we do misdeeds and non-virtues, then that's not going to cause any problem. There's no problem with this. We don't need to give up non-virtue. We don't need to practice virtue. And so if we start thinking like this, then this is a real wrong view. This is a bad, wrong view. This is clinging to emptiness or being partial to emptiness. And this is a real problem that we need to dispel, that we really need to get rid of. And so how is it that we need to give up or to get rid of these problems? The way we need to give up on this is we need to realize that cause and result do not truly exist, but relative cause and result is unfailing. So the essence of cause and result is empty, but in relative terms, it is unfailing that when you have a cause, a result will come from that cause. If you do virtuous things, then you will reap the rewards of doing your virtue. You will experience happiness. If you do bad actions, bad karma, non-virtuous things, then you will reap the results of that. You will experience the suffering and obstacles that come from this. This is unfailing, undeceptive. And so the way to dispel this problem is to believe in karma, cause, and result. So we must have confidence, we must believe in karma, cause, and result. If we do not, then there will be great problems, great dangers that will happen. And so we must have confidence in this. And the way this is explained here is through some examples. And the examples are that fire is untrue, but wood burns. So within the Dharma nature, fire cannot be established as anything. It is untrue. But if you light a piece of wood on fire, it's going to burn. You might think to yourself, fire is emptiness and the wood will just naturally stay there, but it doesn't work that way. The wood actually is going to burn. So fire is like that. In the same way, water is untrue, but wetness does not stop. So you might say water is emptiness, it can't be established as anything, but it's still wet. In this way, we have to have confidence. We have to believe in karma, cause, and result. And so if we become partial to emptiness, if we cling to emptiness, then through clinging to that, we will develop the wrong view that there is no karma, cause, and effect. And that is an obstacle, that is a problem. And so it is important for us to dispel that obstacle, and the way that we must dispel it is by believing in karma, cause, and effect. And so here the examples are of fire and water. Fire and water are empty, but fire still burns, water is still wet. So in this way, we should not be bound by the elixir of emptiness either. And so here, we must believe in karma, cause, and in results. So practice accordingly. So we must practice in this way. And so in this way, we have these two obstacles, not being bound by the elixir of experiences and not being partial to either clarity or emptiness. And so these are blockages or problems that we must dispel.
Tene ta tige tanda perna shaja chimpo kaumata rombat no song take the pe mesipe salpo tap devo nyunyu tini tela kari gugi yapa tangpo ngendro la kari gugi yapa tini partu ngugi la kari gugi yapa tini tela tanda tini po dembe kapsula kandi gugi yapa tene cake salvo kapsula cake kandi yungi yapa cake kandi jini sal gugi yapa ta tenso pe uni tene met mrung mengo cheparche tene te ya tap debo ta tente la tene ta ti ji so te pe kalchebo chenam pe naro na tene ti ji so kari sungi yore sena ta te ta bu nyom so lo na tene kartu nyom nyom rabo topaate kandi chegre singente ta woni hinege tingensen kandi chege hinege tingensen yapote kandi chegre lantong tingensen te yapo kandi chegre ta te salvor ten yore la te togong ka kapsul hya yen teni tring hadru chunten la te chom hyoyin.
So the Amulet Mahamudra by Thangtong Gyalpo and the threefold natural settling or the threefold letting go by Taranatha, these are really clear instructions. They're very easy. They're very short. And so they tell us, what do we need to do? When we do the preliminaries, what do we need to do? When we do tranquility meditation, what do we need to do? When we do the actual practice, what is it that we need to do? How do we enhance our practice? What sort of obstacles might there be? What blockages might there be? How do we get rid of these blockages? And so these are indispensable instructions. We must have these instructions. Not only that, they're easy. And so they're very important and very helpful. So it is important that you actually do them, that you actually follow these instructions. So following this, the instructions tell us, well, what is the ultimate experience that we're going to have out of following and practicing these instructions? What sort of realization is going to happen within us? When we do tranquility meditation, what is good tranquility meditation? When we do insight meditation, what is good insight meditation? So this is next taught clearly. We will go over this in the afternoon session, so that is enough for this morning.
Tene tatering ngadu kapsalaya che tene kandna kokap che pulna song tenya choma song tati tene ta tenya chungsa mare la te toa tang kokap te ta yungsa mare la gomba chojuri nga la tene te ta tandang arang ya tan diju go on the sena tata Tewati, tanda group interview kapta, private interview kapta, Tewatna tati disare, sampai Chefa yang la, tini tering kapsela somcer kahiti kuyando.
There are a few things that I would also like to talk about this morning, and because of that, then once again, we do not have an opportunity to answer any questions. I'm sorry. I planned to offer time for questions this morning, but it didn't work out, and it's probably not going to happen this afternoon either. So please forgive me. But I think it's maybe okay, and the reason it's okay is that we've had all the group interviews and we've had several different audiences and public meetings and things, so I think everyone's had chances to ask some questions, so I think that it's probably okay. But I do have a few thoughts that I would like to share with you this morning.
Jitang on the Siena, Tangarang, Maina, Tangutuk Segior. La Tiniti Tangutuk, the Kanchin Chua de Siena, Tinitanda, Jankama Pakuti Chutupata, Tene Tanda, Sidrumbachi, Pema Onchu Jabo, Kunti Juji, Pema Onchu Jabonique, Munzin Nane, Tate Tangutuk sinking command the Chuarella. Yinayang Aranga Somna. Tate ngarang unne Thrangu tukugi yenten ta tene Thrangu tuku chunga mare wona khande chunga re se na tane Thrangu tuku ge ta lekha te cheju tene te jerto tene loma chola penta ya ta chu he ya ta tene chu ge go ne pento ya yapsi chu ya ta tinde ge lengen ta bo che ge cheto la nga Thrangu tuku sine main ta pare This is the Tangaranga, Inchi Minchi, Langing the Drugu, you are Langing the Drugu, you are in Langing the Lel Habuchi revision, Lel Habuchi Mare. The Mare, the Lanson Duktuya Tindig, Langing the Marella. Mare the Ina Rampopachi, ne, that Dubu Kursi do the la, Tene, Certo Casa Calandrone, Chuhi. Tangaranga kan hipate yena he ne ta cheranso chu che gore sene yo na digre sene digi yo mare la chitang ta tingsang kapsula sanje ge tene ta la ma tuje la tene mekanga memambo chu la deba je ge yo re mugu je ge yo re tenzo ngene chu gu ge yo re 다 추 니구기 와를 추 죽구기 와래 대 te chu hienkin te tachiran chu chi se yogana Digrivision, Digio Mare. Uni Tinzu Rewa the Kangju de Pe Kalchampo. Tiniti Rewa Makampala Yogana, Tining Arala, Uni and Datsinila, Nomin Sinchilopati, Nomin Jachimbo, Yungre, or Nenji, Tini Chitang, Sentin Dungaltin, and Hinji Guyore, Yenaya, Sentin Dungalti Mambo Yore, the Kangaga Dungalti Hetugu Mare. Tang arangin hinji jiwe yur the country said chu dugu ngala chu gudu something tinzuge rewa kangjute tang arang lengin dabo tinete inchi minchi be galchembo tinete trasi yoga ba mai ba koranso chu gu segi ware ta koranso dub to na indra dub mathu na indra ko yoga na dig re samba lo chi na rungu mare ta te inchi minchi te rewa kongu re samba yo.
So, in general, you might wonder, how is it that this name Thrangu, the Thrangu Tulku, came about? Well, this name, the Thrangu Tulku, came about when the 16th Gyalwang Karmapa and the 11th Situ Rinpoche Pema Wanchu Gyalpo identified me as the Thrangu Tulku and gave me the name of the Thrangu Tulku. Now, I think that this is not because I actually have the qualities and realization of the Thrangu Tulku. It's not because of that. Rather, it's because there are the responsibilities of the Thrangu Tulku. And these responsibilities are to help students, to teach Dharma, to help people, to help the students by teaching the Dharma. This is the responsibility of the Thrangu Tulku. And so this is the reason that this name was given to me. And so I have to fulfill these responsibilities of the Thrangu Tulku. Now, is fulfilling these responsibilities something that is easy? It is not something that is easy. It's not something that you can just accomplish right away. It just doesn't happen like that. But if I sort of develop some courage and really encourage myself to do this, then then what I do is I go and I teach Dharma. I go everywhere around the world and I teach the Dharma. And so I tell what I know, what I think, to teach other people about this. And so I need to say, so then if I say to people, okay, you need to practice the Dharma, bye-bye, I'm giving up. It's your problem now. Would that be okay? That would not be okay. The reason is that because of, whether you say it's because of the activity of the Buddha or whether you say it's because of the compassion and blessings of the Lama, there are many, many people who are developing great faith and devotion in the Dharma. These people really want the Dharma. They want to practice the Dharma. They need the Dharma. They want to listen to the Dharma. They want to practice and really accomplish the Dharma. And so I go and I teach the Dharma, and I say, okay, now you go off, I'll go off and practice the Dharma now. Is that okay? It's not okay for me to just do that. I have a responsibility. I must fulfill this responsibility, and it is extremely important that I fulfill this responsibility. But just sort of saying, oh, I have compassion for people is not enough. It's not enough to do that. There are many, many different sentient beings who are suffering in so many different ways. And we have compassion for all of them, but it is impossible for any one person to dispel all of the suffering of all sentient beings. We cannot do that. And so the people whom I particularly have compassion for are those people who are practicing the Dharma. These are the people who I can say, they're the people who have hopes in me. And these are the hopes that I can fulfill. And it's my responsibility to fulfill these. And so if I just say, go practice the Dharma and then quit, it's not okay. I can't just say, okay, now you go off and practice and then I'll go off and do whatever happens. That would not be okay. People have hopes in me, and I must really do what I can to fulfill those hopes.
Dine ta tela pembe ki chedo la jerdo chu nyomsel lemba la tangaranso dukhang se yore la dine somde Chu Nyamsling. Tinichitang Tanda America Yaji Dembe Lumbarella, Tini Lega Mambu Yore, Reti Yinayan Kap La, Somti, Chu Nyamnisiana, Be Song Ne Emba, Sasha Yabu, the Yotna, Be Paintopore. Yapchi Jorgre, Chu Drup something, Chu Drup Tugre, Chu Ni something, Chu Ni Tugre, Sambatabotic. Go ne, Tatanda, Custom Sashati, Tinijan Gamapa country Chudupa, Ranjun Ripedoji, Tui Hig, Zipa, Tanda Chetin, Tahigomo Yana, Yudepa. Tatea Tanda, Jungle Gontrumboche, Kukuma, Kahlap Nana, Chetin number J. Chitanga Pegalola, Soma Doji Tibilo, Chitin number G. Yorella. Tin Chitin number G. Nani, Tinetahi Gomong, Chitin the candidate, Tombe Chuch, Go Ewa, Chetu. Tinetahi Gomong, Chiti Job, Sone, Kalab Naurella. Tela, Niparto, Junsen Yore, Tinisan in the Nala, Chewing Homsul on a Pengre, Sambaga, Tadukan Jay, Tine Dukan Jay, Tiene. Tene tati tanda jangkama paga tuji tansila. Tene te yendo Manitri Foundation ke Sasha Roram che. Manitri Foundation ke Sasha Roram che. Tene Clark ta peti ni ke Lomambola Kalija. Tene tanda dukanji zo ta tende che yorela. Tene tati dukan ti nguni tangaranso chu nyams linking ke lomata. Tene chu nyams lensik dukan ni te pe drelba yinki minji gogodo. Tene chitang ta tanda chitang America sacha jachimbo yintu tela kahi ke dukan yapayo higi yo mare. Tene kahi ke dukan pechi chi gogi yapayo higi yo mare. Tene kahi la dukan mene ngarang kangba la lega chegi nyomne se jute ya chitang ke yapure te yena ya kapka la dukan kana la nyomne ta pechi se na pe pen tobo yungi yo are la tene tanda dukan te ya hachang ke jachembo yo mare te yena ya thinking zombo ndabo tene jongdo.
And so, in order to help everyone, I thought that if there were a retreat center for everyone to do their practice, to come and sit in retreats and do their practice, I thought that this would be very beneficial. Now, America is a developed country, but even though it is a very developed country, if occasionally you can go and sit in a retreat, spend some time doing some practice in an isolated place, then this would be very helpful. It's important for people to have places that if they want to go practice, that they can practice. If they want to go study, it's important for them to have places to study. So here in Crestone, Crestone is particularly a place that the 16th Karmapa Rangjung Rikpe Dorje really regarded with his mind of wisdom. It's a good place to practice the Dharma because of his kindness. And also the previous Jamgon Kongtrul Rinpoche said about the stupa that's here. There are many different types of stupas. In the secret mantra Vajrayana tradition of Tibet, there are 8 different types of stupas. And among these types of stupas, one of them is the Tashi Gomang, or the auspicious many-doored stupa, of which we have one here in Crestone. And what is the reason for having this auspicious many-doored stupa? It's that it is a way to open the door to the Dharma. And so here there is this auspicious many-doored stupa, and for that reason, I thought that it would be beneficial to have have a retreat center here, a place where people could practice Dharma, a place that has the compassion and blessings of the 16th Karmapa, with the help from the Manitou Foundation. And then also we were able to get land, and then Clark and Pat Johnson spent many years working extremely hard on this. And through this, I was able to found this retreat center. And so this really is a place where people can, so we have this retreat center where people can come to do practice. And there are people who want to come and do practice, or need to come and do practice. And there also is the retreat center, and we need to make a connection between the two of these. So America actually is a huge country. And in America, there are probably many people who do not know that it's here. Or there are many people who might know it's here, but who don't realize that they can actually use it. And so we might think that, oh, maybe it's okay that I don't go to a retreat, that I just stay where I am and work and do my work and my practice at the same time. But even if that's the case, then sometimes it is helpful to go to do some practice and to really strive towards the Dharma in an isolated, peaceful, and good place. And so we have a retreat center here. This retreat center is not a huge retreat center, but it is a place where all of the conditions that you need for practice are present.
Tene ta tejendo tanda dukan la ta tanda lama tang kembu ni yore la ta tige tene ngote daboje hyona tene chitange tangaranso tanda tombe chu on de siena tene tangbo tusam sigo yore la tene tusam sedu de la lama tang kembu niga hedala yo tene hedala yo ne tene pecha sei pecha chen tachi pecha tenso chengi yo la tene tige pecha tawa changba gan dige rebesi na dige yo mari nyamlin si gu yo nyamlin na kapsula khande nang yo re se na dukhan le yu yo la de cherna lama tang kembu niga dukhan le yo Dukhan yu ne tene ta perna ngaran so nyamne nang ju ngendo ni zongde tene shaja chimbo to naru chu to denchu to pamo la so ba tene irang ge jerem to zorem ten so nyamne chasa na tene ta de tanda pe pentu chimbo tene tanda yimbe cherna tene tanda lomacho tanda tusam nang gugudu deze gunkin yo na ya de tusam gugu ne robachi tunkin tene nyamlin nang gugudu samkin yo na nyamlin ge tene nyamlin dinde che goren dinde gogre ta tanda shaja chimbo kauma no ne so atartola ke khandi yung gre ke khandi ji sal gogre jerem khandi je gong gogre zorem khandi je gong gogre tenzo chasa lomachola song tupa ta tende lama tang kemboni tang yo la tini te tanda pardo la ngote ndo bo hira hyoju ma jo la tini te ngote hyona nguni tini tu sam nang de yongkin so ge tu sam nang sa tini nyamlin nang de yongkin so ge nyamlin nang ge tini roram nang tunki ta tende ge tini tinki zamba yo re.
In the retreat center, we have both a Khenpo and a Lama, and I thought it would be good to introduce them to you. In terms of the Dharma, the first thing we need to do is study. And in order to study, both Khenpo and Lama went to the monastic college, the Shedra. And while they were there, they studied philosophy. And they came to really understand the philosophy. So they have a good grounding in philosophy. But is that in itself enough? It's not. One also needs to practice the Dharma. And so how does one practice the Dharma? Well, you send them to the retreat center. You send them to retreat. And so both Khenpo and Lama went to the retreat center and sat a retreat. And in the retreat, they started from the preliminaries and went through Mahamudra, the 6 yogas, the practices of Chakrasamvara, Vajrayogini. They did all the practices of the creation phases and completion phases. And so this is something that is very beneficial for them. And so for that reason, they're both here, and if there are students who wish to study philosophy, they can come here and they can study philosophy. And the Lama and Khenpo can help them with that. If there's someone who thinks, oh, I need to do some practice, then you can come here and Lama and Khenpo can say, you should practice like this. You should do this practice. This is what you need to do. As it explains in the Amulet Mahamudra, what are the blockages that can happen in our practice? How do we get rid of these blockages? What do we need to do for the creation phase meditations? What do we need to do for the completion phase meditations? Khenpo and Lama can teach you both of these. And so this is why I sent Khenpo and Lama. Up to now, I haven't yet really made an introduction for them, but I thought it was good to introduce them now so that everyone who wishes to do some study knows that there is a place you can come and do some study. And all of you who wish to do some practice, so that you all know that there is a place where you can come and get some help doing your practice. This is really a place where everything that you need is there.
Tene ta teacher na ta tanda ta chitang lomatso chula depa yeba te chu drug tinjin tene dukhan yeba dukhan na la tene lama tang kembu ge peti nangkin da labja nangkin yeba ta tende se tu te che number ge inji min jin chen chirang number in ya chu te ta dukgu ge dukte ta te se kalito ta chu du chongma song samba mayimba chu te chu dukgu ge do kapkala chu du thug mendu de kapkala tu si chung ka singi chu du ba himba somsi che ke te lo sam to ba je ta ngarang ge te dukhan te ge che namba chu dum kin so le hyap che dabo se na ya andra roram dabo se na ya andra tene chuyogun tenchin se na yanda te cheba yin la tene ta dukhan te chapsi kiche to japa mare tene dukhan te panjur kiche to japa mare dukhan te tambe chu nyamlen senkin sola tambe chu dupugin tenchin kiche to japa yin bicher na tene te che namba ge kanga ge chu nyamlen nangsa tene dukhan ta loma ni nyamdo nzam tupa tene lama ta pecha thinking ta tene dangwa nangking ke lama ta loma tinzo nyamdo nzam to baji nang na tene thinking pusang so baji yongji yimbi chena chena ba kanga ke de chemba je naru ji hyuba yen la tene te la loma khashi ke tene te pe yapodo te gabodo tene se ne tanglang ke ne tene roram sopanda bota tene khase loma khashi pepsonga tene te pe yapodo la te tenzu ge roram na un yung kapsula tene kanga ge lama to lome ge derba dukan ta nyamlen chenking ge derba yapona ruchi shogi.
So for that reason, there are now many students who have a lot of faith in the Dharma. And so there is a retreat center that has all the facilities they need to practice. Likewise, this retreat center has a Khenpo and Lama who can give instructions and advice in your practice. And so it's important that everyone know that this is here. So sometimes people think, oh, practicing Dharma is too difficult. I'm just not going to be able to get around to practicing Dharma this time. That doesn't work out. That's not the way we should leave it. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes we do have difficulty practicing Dharma, but occasionally we have some windows of time. And when we have those windows, we have to seize them and say, okay, now I'm going to go practice the Dharma. Now I can do this. And so for those times, that is why you can say that I founded the retreat center. That is why you can say that I'm offering this help or making these facilities available. This is why I have done it. I have not done this for any reasons of power or politics. I have not done this for any reasons of gaining any wealth or anything like that. I have done this solely so that we can make a connection between the retreat center and those who want to practice. So this is a place that has all of the facilities that you need. And so if we can make a connection between those who want to practice and the retreat center, it'll turn out very well. So needs to be a connection between the retreat center and those who want to practice, a connection between the lamas there and the students. And so everyone needs to know that there are all these facilities that are available for you. Similarly, there are also several students here who say, oh, it's great that we have a retreat center here. This is wonderful. So we're really happy about it. So we're going to volunteer and work for it. And so they've formed an advisory committee for it. And this is great. This is wonderful that they have done it. It's wonderful that people want to help in this. And so this is a great way for the students and the lamas to make a connection, for the practitioners in the retreat center to make a connection. So this is a great thing.
Tene tatejento tanda dukan chunchun yorela. Tene tete si jachir tang tutna mahompala loma mambola pento chia. Tene tunchin zamba kanga chu drup tuba. Tene chu nyamlin nang jin yepa. Tene tene yungi yorela. Ya tene gite si roram nang tutna ya pe kalchempo. Tene ngaranzo rang susu lumba la thinking chu nyom se linking tenzola maon pa la pento ja chimpon ju jorun roi be cherna chenam patinde ya thunkin roram nam de yokin daboda tene ta te roram nam thunkin dabo yo na ya te tamju na na tene maon pa la pe rang susu lumbe ge chu dunde yokin ge loma nyamlin nang de yonkin sol pe pinto chimbo ndogre la tinde jamju nang tba chona ya pe ya bu chira to.
So right now the retreat center is only a relatively small thing, and so if it were a little bit bigger, then in the future, more students would be able to come. It would be able to help more people, be of more benefit for people. It would be a place where more people could get together and practice, more people could get together and study. And so if you can help out with this, it's really important to help out with it. In general, this is a place for people of our own country. It's a place for people that can help people in our own country who want to practice the Dharma. And so if there are the facilities and everything available for those who want to practice the Dharma in our own country, and we're able to support it, that's great. So if you can support this retreat center in any way, then this is something that will help all of the people in our own country who want to practice the Dharma, who want to study the Dharma. It'll be of a great benefit for all of them. So if you are able to help support this in any way at all, this would be most extremely wonderful. So thank you very much, and that is enough for this morning.
Genesis Se